Hey everybody, Chav Nobody Else's Auto. We are here back at one of my favorite places on earth, Harold Warp's Pioneer Village in Minden, Nebraska. Tons of amazing things here, including over 300 cars and trucks, which is why I love coming here, but they have everything here from cash registers to locomotives to cars, to guns, to airplanes. There's even airplanes in here. Yep, they've got it all, which is why I love this place. We're in some of the really early stuff here, sharing some awesome stories with you. Now we're standing here in front of some Model Ts. Now most of us are familiar with the Model T. You know, the Model Ts, we're standing right here in front of brass era Model Ts in their optional color of black, like what most people expect to see on a Model T, just like these two cars sitting right here that we're standing in front of. The 1900s and into the teens era of Fords. But there's a really special Ford here of the same era we're going to check out. We're going to start here because this is what everybody expects in the 1900s and into the teens of Ford cars. But when we take a step back, we look at this beast. Red, huge long nose, massive brass headlights. This is a 1906 Ford Model K. We see I have all this information on them. In 1905, Henry Ford was working on two new models. This huge 6-cylinder, 40 horsepower, and of course the little 4-cylinder that most of us are familiar with in the Model Ts. The price of this Model K was $2,800, almost 6 times the price of a Model T. This thing was a beast in 1906. This K269 supposedly won the 24-hour Detroit endurance race in 1907, attaining a mile-a-minute clip and averaging 47 miles per hour for 1,135 miles. Henry sold less than 150 of these huge Model Ks during 1906 and 1907. He sold over 2,500 Model Ns alone in 1906. So obviously this is not an extremely common car. In 1903, Henry Ford had introduced the first 2-cylinder 8-horsepower Model A Ford after having designed the first Cadillac, which we looked at in the other video. You'll want to check that out as well. So this is a 1906 Ford. Now, we're familiar with those Model Ts that we just saw. This is the same era. This is crazy when you look at this car compared to your standard Model T that we're all familiar with. This engine alone, 6 cylinders, 40 horsepower. They got 40 horsepower out of this thing, and it is massive. Less than 150 of these cars produced, so obviously extremely uncommon. We'll come back around and take a look at the back of this thing. Toolbox, tank. This was a big car. We can look down the side of this thing, and you can really get a glimpse of how long the nose on this thing really is. There again, this is 1906. There was nothing fancy about this. We can see the suspension, we can see the big springs on it. But for its day, this thing was a monster. When you're used to 2-cylinder cars and they come out with this behemoth in 1906, there wasn't much like this, which is super cool. Super rare car, something you never see. But there again, that's what's so great about the Pioneer Village here in Minden, Nebraska. They have this stuff. It is here. You can physically see it. You can look at it. You can read the signs. You can study the history. With less than 150 of these built, you're not going to stumble across another one at your next cruise night. They're just not out there. But you step back and look at the front of this thing. Look at that big, huge radiator with the brass grill. It took a lot of real estate to cool that big 6-cylinder when they're used to dealing with 2 cylinders and 4 cylinders in this era. That car was a heck of a lot of car in 1906. So basically almost kind of like a factory type race car. We saw it had racing heritage, and they believe this was the exact car that had that racing history and pedigree, and definitely something a little bit different. When we look at these cars over here as your standard production Ford, and you look at the size of the lights, and you look at the size of the radiator, and you look at the size of the 4-cylinder in this car, and this one here is a 1908 model, so right in the same time frame, and we look at the length of the front of this car to compensate for that 4-cylinder engine. Not very much real estate, and pretty much what you expect for cars from that era, compared to this behemoth of a Ford race car from 1906, and you look at the front of this thing and that massive engine. Amazing what they did with this car. Super neat piece. Definitely a piece of history, and definitely not something you're going to see in anywhere probably ever again. That's what's amazing about this collection. If you ever get a chance to get through here, you have to stop and check it out. The Pioneer Village in Minden, Nebraska. every corner is a piece of history. With over 300 cars in here, there's no way we're going to cover them all, but we're going to get bits and pieces and hopefully get back soon to catch some more. But we've done videos from here before. Be sure to check out the playlist from the Pioneer Village. Lots of cool stuff here. You don't want to miss it. It's an awesome place, and it's history around every corner. And if you like cars and trucks, it is a must stop, must see, must do place. Thanks for watching, everybody. Hope you enjoyed a little bit of history lesson. I didn't know anything about this car other than the fact that I knew this one was here and saw it. That's where I learned it. I hope you learned a little bit from it too. And be sure to stop by and check this place out. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned. We got a lot more cool stuff coming from here.